Good morning, everyone. It's Sal, Stretford Post. How you're doing? And welcome to another episode of Breaking Dawn. I hope you're doing good. I hope you're doing fine. Thank you, guys, for joining me this morning on this fabulous Saturday morning. Of course, guys, hope everyone is doing well. Of course, guys, before I start, please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to smash a like on the video. All that jazz. That'd be absolutely fantastic. Let's get the algorithms rhythming. Rhythm is a dancer, especially with YouTube, of course, guys. So, guys, get the likes up. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Put your notifications on, all that jazz. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on a Saturday morning for me. Wherever you are in the world, you are welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. Now, let's get into some Manchester United news. There is news about Luke Shaw. Is Luke Shaw going to be finally leaving Manchester United after over a decade at the football club? Of course, guys, 12 years, I believe it is. 13 years, 12 years at Manchester United. Have we found a replacement for Luke Shaw, guys? Big news coming up very, very shortly, guys. Are Manchester United about to raid Tottenham Hotspur? Whether they get relegated or not, Manchester United are looking at two Tottenham Hotspur players, guys. Unbelievable. And, of course, the news surrounding Kvaratskhelia, of course, of PSG. Is that just spin? Is that just spin? Are we just trying to throw news out there? Because at the end of the day, he's a very, very good player and a very expensive player. Let's get into that right now, guys. But firstly, I want to start with the cover for Luke Shaw, the replacement for Luke Shaw. Of course, over the years, some of us have been a little bit disgruntled by Luke Shaw. We've not been happy with Luke Shaw. Of course, way back in 2013-14, Luke Shaw got an injury. And it was a terrible injury. The doctors actually said that, it was, I'm not going to go into there, but it was an awful injury. And he nearly was retired because of that injury against PSG. Since then, over the last 15 years, it's been a bit of a love-hate relationship with Luke Shaw because, I liked Luke Shaw. When we first signed him, I felt at that particular time, Luke Shaw was one of the best left-backs in Europe. I felt at that time he was one of the best left-backs in Europe. However, since then, I don't know what it is. There's been a whole load of stories about Luke Shaw, whether it be behind the scenes in regards to leaking, in regards to injuries, feigning injury, and things like that. And things haven't quite worked out. Now, apparently, it is quite possible that Manchester United could be moving on from Luke Shaw this summer. And word is Manchester United have found their replacement. Who is that replacement for Luke Shaw? Destiny Udogie. Manchester United are looking at Destiny Udogie to replace Luke Shaw, guys. No, that's a surprise. That's a bow out of the blue. Now, Udogie, a very talented player. Now, first of all, I want to talk about something very, very shortly about Spurs, right? About Tottenham. Now, when these players go to Tottenham, for example, Destiny Udogie, right? 23 years old, 12 caps for Italy. When these players go to Tottenham, their career goes down because Tottenham are a toxic mess. Tottenham are traditionally a failing football club that don't really win much trophies, right? And that's a fact, right? I'm talking about historically here, right? Not last season. I'm talking about historically. They're a football club that notoriously don't really win any trophies. Now, Destiny Udogie, Manchester United were aware of Destiny Udogie before he even went to Atalanta. He signed for Tottenham for 40 million. So he was obviously very talented at that period. He signed from Udinese for 40 million. A lot of money for a young lad, and of around 20 years old. So look, Destiny Udogie has been linked to a move to Manchester United. Of course, could play left back, could play left midfield. Now, word on the street is that Manchester United may be willing to put Patrick Dorgu as the left winger. Right, so Patrick Dorgu could be the permanent left winger for Manchester United with a player like Destiny Udogie moving into the left back. Now, I know people are going to be crying out for Diamande. They're going to be crying out for another midfielder. And I agree. I absolutely agree. But Destiny Udogie as a left back, as cover for a left back, replacing Luke Shaw, I think would be absolutely fantastic. I think that sort of deal would be good. His valuation, obviously, will be 35 million. That will go up to about 50 million, guys, if we do sign him. He's at the right age, 23, 24 years old, what we're looking for as well. Very interesting signing. And you know what? It's one of when people were talking about what player would you take from Spurs if Spurs got relegated? What is the one player that you take from Spurs? Not many of us said Destiny Udogie. I think we're sleeping on him, to be honest with you. I said Van der Ven. Even myself, I said Van der Ven. I said Bergval. I said Sarr in midfield. I said this, right? But none of us said, let's be honest, none of us said Destiny Udogie, did we? But Destiny Udogie to Manchester United is very, very interesting. And he's at that age. He's young. You know, he's got experience in the Premier League as well. Italian international, guys. Really, really talented player. And obviously one to look out for, guys. Really is one to look out for. Of course, guys. Let me know what you think about that, guys. Very, very interesting new news, exclusive news, straight from Stretford Post, guys. Destiny Udogie linked to Manchester United for 35 million euros, guys. Let me know what you're thinking about that. Hope you're all doing well this morning. Well, welcome to the stream, guys. Really good to see you. Of course, again, want to apologise for the backdrop. Obviously, I'm in Italy at the moment, travelling at the moment, guys. Travelling at the moment, but things will get back to normal very, very soon, guys. As soon as things settle down where I live, of course. Big up everyone, of course, in the stream. I hope you're all doing well. But let me get into another little bit of Spurs transfer news. Well, Manchester United taking from Spurs transfer news. Christian Romero. Now, obviously, I did speak about Christian Romero a couple of weeks ago about him coming to Manchester United. I didn't think it would be a bad move. Lo and behold, Manchester United are looking at Christian Romero as a potential signing this summer. Now, obviously, it's up in the air about Harry Maguire, whether he signs a new contract or not. I do think Harry Maguire will sign a new contract, but it's not just necessarily about Harry Maguire. It's about the injury record at Man United in regards to De Ligt, in regards to Licha Martinez as well, and Matsuri to an extent. It is about that. Manchester United are looking at bringing in a centre-back. Christian Romero has been earmarked as one of those players that could quite possibly come into Manchester United this summer. 27 years old, 48 caps for Argentina, 3 goals. And again, it doubles down on what I just said about Tottenham Hotspur. Tottenham Hotspur, over the years, when I was growing up, signed a number of quality players, whether that be Jurgen Klinsmann, Dimitrescu. You know, they had great players. Popescu, they had very, very good players. They've always had Sol Campbell, but they never been a successful football club. I don't know whether that's about football heritage. I don't know whether it's just something in the air. I don't know, in the water. You know what I mean? But Christian Romero went to Spurs. 35 million from Atalanta, so quite a lot of money for Atalanta standards for a defender again, and a lot of, I mean, obviously people are looking at his disciplinary record or his a liability and that, but I like to look at things like, maybe when you're playing for Spurs, it does get very frustrating. It does get very annoying when you're playing for a club like Spurs that you can't keep your cool. You can't, you know, it's very difficult when you're losing all the time and you are a winner yourself. When you're a winner yourself and you're playing in a football team that keeps losing, you know, it's difficult, isn't it? It's difficult. And I do think that Christian Romero would be a very shrewd signing. I like his personality. I think he's a captain kind of player. I think he's very good. And I think he's underrated. He's valued at about 35 million. Obviously, Spurs signed him for 35 million for Atalanta. It will go for about 50 million, I would have thought. If Spurs are relegated, don't be surprised if you see the likes of Christian Romero leave Tottenham Hotspur, because obviously Christian Romero at 27, 28 years old is not going to want to stay at Tottenham in the Championship, playing in the Championship and stuff like that. Of course he's not. Do you know what I mean? He's obviously going to want to go to a club that's in the Champions League, and he's going to want to play for a bigger club, obviously with his international aspirations as well, which we have to remember, of course, guys. But Christian Romero linked to Manchester United, the centre-back from Tottenham Hotspur, 48 caps for Argentina, 3 goals for Argentina. Very, very capable player, of course, guys. Let me know what you think, guys. Let me know what you think. 2 players from Spurs there, 2 players from Spurs, which Man United can possibly pick up for about, what, 90 million? Probably. We could probably do a 90 million deal for the both. And that'll be quite decent business, in my opinion, and good for the squad, of course, guys. Not just about spending 100 million, of course. But obviously, we do want to fix that midfield. Of course we do. Guys, let me just say hello to the community. I hope you're all doing well. Hope everyone is blessed, of course. Hope you're good. Good morning, Ephraim. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Good morning, Paul. How you doing? Good morning, my friend. How you doing? I'm all good. Good to see you, mate. Good morning, Sanjay. Hope you're doing well. Good to see you again. Good morning, Sam. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Big up, Lefa. What's going on? Welcome to the stream, my friend. Good to see you. Who do you think will sign in the midfield? Now, that's all up in the air at the moment in regards to the midfield. I can give you a number of players that I do believe, 2 of which probably will sign for Man United. Anderson, Wharton, Stiller, Amadou Onana. Those, you can't look much further than those midfielders right there. Of course, guys, you can't look much further than that. There are players like Barrios. There are players like that who are in the pipeline. Yavi Guerra, Lamine Kamara, Agume, another one who could go to Manchester United. Now, you've got to look at those bunch of players and say, right, there's like Man United are being linked to about 50 midfielders at the moment, and that's a fact, right? But it doesn't mean we're going to sign 50 midfielders. 2 of those midfielders will go to Man United. If it was my choice, and I had the facilities to sign a midfielder, it would be probably Anderson and Stiller for me. That would be my choice. I would be delighted with that. However, it's up to the board what they do. And the problem is with Man United at the moment, we're trying to sell a project. Right, we're trying to sell a project, but we don't even know who's going to be the next manager next season. Who's going to be the manager for Manchester United next season? We don't know that, do we? And this is the problem that we're going to be having. And I do hope that we don't waste time at the end of the season searching for that new manager. I do hope that we're doing the initial stages, negotiations before the World Cup and stuff like that, and get the agreements all done and dusted. Of course, because the World Cup is going to take up a month of the preseason as well. So, it is a little bit concerning. I would take Anderson and Stiller. That would be my choice. I thought if Man United took those two players, I'd be absolutely delighted. Absolutely. But there are a number of players that I think will fill in the void. Guys, obviously, there's Wharton, there's Stiller, there's Amadou Onana, there's Baleba, of course, who has been linked to Manchester United, of course, which I believe, if I was going to answer your question, Lefa, and I'm going to say, give it what I actually think will happen, not what I want happening, what I think will happen, I do think Man United will sign Carlos Baleba. I said that from the beginning. Man United met up with Carlos Baleba's entourage in the end of October, and there's an agreement there. The initial stages are already beginning, and that's the only player that we've actually had proper, intense talks with the entourage and with the agents and stuff like that. Carlos Baleba, in my opinion, is most likely to be the first midfield signing for Man United, in my opinion. And that's what I think. And because obviously it's easy. He's easy to do. The deal is easy to do. Obviously, we haven't agreed a fee with Brighton yet, but the groundwork in regards to Carlos Baleba is already there. Everything is already done. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. Big up, Nefa. Good to see you. Big up, Marcus. How you doing, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Big up, Laka Saka. What's going on? Boom, boom. What's going on? Luke Shaw doesn't change clubs. He changes managers. That's true. Very true. Absolutely. He's changed more clubs than, changed more managers than clubs. Yeah, he's only been at Southampton and Man United, however. Big up, Daryl. Long time no see. Daryl, how you doing? Good to see you. Hope you're well. Morning, Sal, bro. Hope you're doing well. Been a while. I'll take Udogie, Van der Ven, Defo for replacement, but we do need midfielders. I agree, Daryl. Look, I said it when we were linked to defenders at the initial stage. I said when we were linked to defenders, I did say that, I don't want it to stifle our potential of signing midfielders, because midfield is the most important thing at the moment at Man United, of course. The biggest problem at Man United, not only this season, over the many seasons, has been that midfield. We've been Bagel FC, even under Eric Ten Hag. And we need to fix that midfield. It's becoming like a broken record, isn't it? And this was my biggest concern in the last summer, when we had a 4 out of 10 window. We didn't buy a midfielder. It was a disgrace. We did buy a midfielder, and I thought that was absolutely diabolical from the board. That's why I gave it a 4 out of 10 window. Man United have been weak in midfield for a very long time. This season, we're relying on an aging Casemiro. Although Casemiro has played incredibly well, we're relying on Casemiro to be our number 6. And we need more squad depth. Now, Ugarte, who did relatively well, as predicted for Uruguay yesterday in a 1-1 draw of England, he did very well yesterday. Again, he plays well internationally. Obviously, he's playing with Valverde and players like that, of course. But what I would say is that Man United are due a midfielder, not only 1, 2 or 3 midfielders. And if we buy defenders, if we spend money on defenders, this is why I was saying we might as well just sign a Maguire to a new contract, because buying a defender is going to take time, it's going to cost money, and it might stifle our opportunity of buying a midfielder. So I would say fix the midfield first, and then what we have left, we fix the defense, and we try and bring in players like Udogie, these kind of players who we can quite possibly wheel and deal something, especially if Tottenham get relegated. If Tottenham Hotspur get relegated, Tottenham Hotspur are going to be in a little bit of a desperation, because they're a big club. They just spent a lot of money on a new stadium. So if they get relegated, they're going to have to sell some players, definitely. And this is exactly what I was saying about Man United. Like, a lot of people were saying, if Man United get relegated, Man United, the Glazers will leave Man United. The Glazers will leave. If Man United got relegated, the Glazers will leave. It's not true. They'll just sell players and they'll just make back the money. And that's what they'll do, and hope and pray that we get promoted. This is what's going to happen with Tottenham. I do see them getting relegated. I do. I think they're in that position where Leeds were a few years ago. Well, not a few, about a couple of decades ago now. I think they're in that position. Look, relegation, nobody is void of relegation. And I would say that Leeds United were in the semi-final of the Champions League a couple of years later, they're getting relegated. You know what I mean? And what I would say is that Tottenham Hotspur, in general, are a smaller club than Leeds in regards to historically, in my opinion. Right? And Leeds obviously won a league in 1992. And what I would say is that Tottenham Hotspur are not too good to go down. And if they go down, do expect a lot of their players to leave. Do expect a lot of their players. There's no loyalty, guys, anymore. There's no Juventus. You remember when Juventus got relegated to a couple of divisions? And Del Piero and Trezeguet and Buffon and Nedved all stayed at Juventus. You know, it's not like that these days. These days, they don't have the love for Tottenham. And I bet your bottom dollar that the Udogie, Van der Ven, Sarr, Bergval will all leave the football club, guys. They will all be gone at that football club, in my humblest of opinions. And I think that if Man United have got their head screwed on, go and get a couple of those players, whether it's Jed Spence, whether it's Udogie, whether it's Sarr, whether it's Bergval. Go and get them. Good players. Should be at a better club. Absolutely. Marcus, good to see you. There's Udogie or Diomande. I'm taking Udogie because we need a left back. We don't need a new left winger. In Diomande, that's simple for me. I would say that, but you can't forget about Patrick Dorgu as well. Patrick Dorgu is a left back, stroke left winger, of course, and I don't want it to stifle the development of Patrick Dorgu. We can't forget about how brilliant he was before he got injured. He's been brilliant. And I said that Patrick Dorgu's, and I'm going to say it like this, guys, and I'm going to quote me. I want you to quote me on this one, right? Patrick Dorgu will be the best left back in the world. Patrick Dorgu, when he gets back, will be the best left back, best left winger in European football. Let me tell you that right now. I'm saying that, like, I'm putting that on his head right now, guys. Patrick Dorgu will be the best left back in the world, and we cannot sleep on Patrick Dorgu. I know there's going to be links, and I know a lot of people are forgetting about Patrick Dorgu, you know, and they're forgetting about him. But I would say Patrick Dorgu and Udogie coming into Manchester United. If Destiny Udogie comes to Manchester United from Tottenham Hotspur, Patrick Dorgu and Udogie on that left side, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I think that'd be absolute game changing for Manchester United. Very solid, of course. Just as long as we fix that midfield, of course, guys, which obviously I keep banging the drum on about. It must be boring for you guys talking about the midfield all the time, but we have to fix that midfield. And the same names are being mentioned time and time again. I like Diomande. I like Yan Diomande. I think Yan Diomande is going to be one of the best players in the world very, very soon. Of course, playing in the Bundesliga at the moment. You know, did play for Leganés. Did come from, I think it was it Leganés or was it? I think he did briefly play in Spain, if I'm not wrong. But look, I would say that Yan Diomande is a generational, and I would say that whoever he goes to, they're going to have a very good player. However, I would say that Man United, Dorgu, but if we don't sign Udogie, we sign Diomande. If we sign Diomande, look, I won't mind. I'll be happy. I'll be delighted, of course. But just as long as our midfield is fixed first, because he's a 100 million player, you know, and that's what I would say about that. Absolutely. Big up, Marcus. Saka, stay away from Van der Ven and Romero. A few losses in a row. These two will start bailing out. Ooh, there you go, Saka. Big up yourself. I like Romero. The reason I like Romero is because I've watched him for a while. Watched him his whole career, basically. You know, and I've never seen that in him. He's played for Atalanta. He's played at lower clubs, and I've never seen that in him. I always felt that he was very, very very calm in regards to himself, but at Tottenham, he's just turned into this beast, right? And obviously, frustration, anger, when you're playing for a team like Tottenham, it can't be great. You know, it can't be great, especially when you're an Argentinian international at 48 caps, 3 goals. 48 caps for Argentina. That's no mean feat. Do you know what I mean? That's incredible. You know, so, you know, he's a serial winner in regards to his mentality. And obviously, when you're playing for a team like Tottenham Hotspur, it can be incredibly frustrating. It can be annoying. And I don't blame him, to be honest with you. Absolutely not. Big up Robert, big up Saka, big up yourself, big up Robert, morning, good to see you, big up Ephraim. So is there any truth in the board is a conflict about who will the manager of United be next season? Yes, there is a lot of conflict around Wilcox and the board about the new manager, about players that are coming into the football club. I know that other content creators have already mentioned it, of course. Big up Mark Goldbridge and United Stand, who I heard from it first. So what I would say, I looked into it myself. And I would say that, yes, there is problems. No shit, Sherlock, really, because Man United are a big problem. That board is not getting on. I think we all know. There was obviously rumours a year ago that Sir Jim Ratcliffe is not getting on with the Glazers and stuff like that. This Wilcox thing, of course, is a big issue. Wilcox is incredibly narcissistic. Wilcox is incredibly arrogant. He thinks very, very highly of himself. And I do believe that Wilcox is going to equate to a problem. Now, what does Wilcox want? I don't know. I don't really know what Wilcox wants. I don't know what Wilcox's favourite manager is. Now, obviously, there is an argument about Michael Carrick staying full-time, and then there's an argument about bringing in another manager, of course. Now, this doesn't bode well for the summer, does it? This doesn't look good, bruv. This doesn't look good. This looks a little bit bad at the moment because, all these rumblings about disgruntlement and arguments within the Man United board, it doesn't look good, does it? And more importantly, when we're trying to sign players, it's not going to look good to potential players coming into the football club when there's big arguments going on between Jim Ratcliffe, Wilcox, Barada, Vavell, whoever it is. Do you know what I mean? It's disgraceful. And this is exactly what we're talking about. If we had a full sale, if we had Qatar in the football club, these things would not happen in the first place. And that's what I would say. It's pretty evident that there's a lot of disagreements within that board. Too many chefs spoil the broth, if you know what I mean. And I think that is what's happening at Man United at the moment. Obviously, there was a disagreement between Erik ten Hag when Erik ten Hag got the new contract. There was a disagreement about Ruben Amram. A few of them were disagreeing which manager we should get. Of course, guys, what's his name, who got fired, didn't want Amram. He didn't feel Man United had the right players for Ruben Amram, and he got fired, of course, which he has been proven right. We didn't have the right players. He felt that basically Ashworth. He felt that basically to bring Ruben Amram in, Man United need too much work that needs to be done, and he got fired. At the end of the day, but he was right, and we knew that if you bring in a manager like Ruben Amram, you're going to have to buy a right wing back, left wing back, maybe a couple of midfielders, and you play three at the back, so you're going to have to fill up that defensive line as well. And he felt that there was too much to be done, and he got fired. Now, there's always been these disgruntlements, this negativity that surrounds the board, and this is what I've been saying. Now, what I look at right now, I look at Michael Carrick, and we keep supporting the football club, and we support Michael Carrick, and we hope Michael Carrick does well, and we hope Michael Carrick wins football matches. However, I don't trust this board. And I really don't. And we're having arguments right now. On this Saturday morning, we're talking about arguments at Man United. And many of us predicted that this will happen, with their vanity project, with Jim Ratcliffe's vanity project. Things are not well in the kitchen, guys. They're not well in the kitchen, despite the amount of chefs we have. The things are not well in the kitchen at Manchester United. There are arguments, there are disagreements, there's anger, there's arrogance, there's narcissism, there's everything going on at Man United at the moment in regards to a negative aspect. This does not help Manchester United, especially at this stage of the season when we're fighting for top 4, top 3, top 2 position. We're looking at forward to the transfer window, of course. We're looking forward to who we're going to bring in as a new manager, or whether we keep Carrick, who knows. But this doesn't bring any good feelings to Manchester United before that. Now, if you're a player like Anderson, for example, and Man City are after you, and whoever else is after you in Europe, and you want to sign for a football club based on the project, you're going to look at Man United and you're going to think, you know what? How comes all these arguments are going on? Look at them. They're a bit of a mess. They can't even agree between each other. Why would I go to Man United? And this is the problem, isn't it? And this is what we've been banging the drum on about for years, guys. The board, the Glazers, and then now an extension, go gadget extension arm of Ineos. Do you know what I mean? And that's what's happened, and it's so frustrating that we're talking about this. I want to come on the stream and say, yeah, no, the board are killing it. They're smashing it. I understand we bought a few good players last summer, but we bought nowhere near enough players. We didn't even get wing backs. We didn't get the midfield sorted. Nothing. We got a few attackers. We fixed the attack. Fair play. We bought a goalkeeper. Fair play. That was about it. And I think that was disappointing. And whilst we should be concentrating on fixing the team, fixing the squad, looking at new players to come into the team, we're arguing with each other. We're fighting each other. We're having petty little disagreements, Now, I hope this isn't serious. I hope that they are focused and they're arguing about which player we're going to bring in, which manager we're going to bring in, if we bring in a manager, what we're going to do. I hope it's about that. And I hope they come to a conclusion, because at the end of the day, we've got no room to maneuver this summer. The World Cup is happening, right? Players are going to leave 2 weeks before the World Cup. They're going to come back 2 weeks after the World Cup, depending on how far they get. They're going to have a holiday, of course. So we're not going to have time to do these deals. And it's just disgraceful, I would say. Big up, Ephraim. Good morning, my friend. Good to see you. Good to see you, LT. Good to see you as usual. Sal, morning Sal. According to Laurie Whitwell, don't like him. We're prepared to spend around 140 million for 2 top centre midfielders and maybe 3 if Ugarte leaves, which is what we want to spend. Low 70 million on Baleba feels like a waste. It is a waste. And don't be surprised, LT, if we sign Carlos Baleba. 140 million is about the bare minimum for a midfielder. Man United need to spend about 300 million on that midfield. I'm not exaggerating. 140 million is not even going to touch the surface. Now, what does 140 million get you? Well, maybe it depends what we do. Well, it will get you Anderson. Great, right? That would be about 80, 90 million. And then what you're left with is about 50, 60 million. So what the 50, 60 million going to get you? Probably Stiller. Now, look, if Man United did that, right, I think Stiller's going to go 75, 80. But, if Man United did that, right, I don't think that'd be bad with Mainu there as well. I know the squad needs to be filled, but if Man United went out and spent 80, 90 million on Anderson and got Stiller, or 70 million on Wharton and got Stiller, I don't think that's bad. But you know as well as I do, LT, that they're not going to go and get Anderson or Wharton. They're going to go and get Carlos Baleba, the guy who's been the player of the season at Brighton this season. Said nobody ever, and this is what the biggest problem. We cannot, this is not Donald Trump FC. We cannot base things on a hunch that Carlos Baleba is going to come good. We are in a critical stage of our development, especially in the transfer window. We are in a very important period of our history that we can either go down or we can solidify the top 3 positions and we can move on to second and maybe first. Who knows? But it depends on what they do in the transfer market. Now, I would like Baleba. I wouldn't mind Baleba, right, for 40 million. As a squad option, as a player that could be in the squad and it could be nurtured into the team. And we have Angelo Stiller and we have Anderson as our main midfield partner, and Mainu, of course, as our midfield. But, I don't think they're going to do that. I just don't have the confidence. I hope they're going to do that. I just don't have the confidence that they're going to do that, right? If they sign Baleba should be a bench. Anderson and Stiller should be the midfield along with Kobe Mainu. And that's what I think. That's how it should be. And I think that's what's going to move Man United forward. What Man United need to think now is not lower, it's higher. Now, there's only 2 teams above us in the league. Theoretically, we are the 3rd best team in England. Can you believe it, son? We are the 3rd best team in England, right? We could have been 4 points away from Manchester City, pushing on the 2nd best team in England. Yeah, I mean, that shows how poor the league is, by the way. But what I would say is that they need to do the business. If it's 140 million, if we had 140 million to sign players, near 100 million for Anderson, the rest spend on Angelo Stiller. Bob's your uncle. There you go. And then obviously, if you can't buy Angelo Stiller, there's a lot of Keith Schmidt, Saido Mana, Udogie, there's players around. Kamara, Agume, there's loads of midfielders out there that we can get. You have to negotiate yourself, and we're meant to have the best in class, guys. They need me at the board, I'm telling you. Roy, good morning. Hope you're doing well. Hot take. Romero is a great player. Check his Argentine national team performances. It's Spurs, Shite, and Tudor. I don't think it's Tudor. I really don't. I think Tudor's made to look worse by Spurs. I think it is Spurs. It's Spurs. It's nothing to do with Tudor. They weren't exactly blowing the bloody house doors off last season, were they? When they came 16th, 15th, 14th, whatever they came. And this season, where are they in the league? It weren't because of Tudor, was it? It weren't because of Tudor that they are where they are in the league. It's because of the ex-manager. That's what it is. Romero has always been a very good player. Always been a very good player. I know that. No one needs to tell me that. I know he's a good player. I don't just analyze people who play for Spurs. Now, we can look at things, right? Like, for example, let me look at Michael Carrick or, let me look at Dimitar Berbatov. Was it Dimitar Berbatov or Michael Carrick's fault that Tottenham didn't win anything when they played for them? No. Was it Sol Campbell's fault that Tottenham were in the second period of the table, mid-table team when he was playing for Tottenham, but ended up becoming the world-class defender that he was, one of the best in history, in my opinion, which goes under the carpet, Sol Campbell. It wasn't his fault. Of course it's not. It's the Tottenham thing. Tottenham have always had good players, but they've never achieved anything. Nothing is new here. They're just doing worse than they've ever done. Nothing for me in regards to Tottenham is new here, So I would say, like, when I talk about the past, and I talk about Dimitrescu, and I talk about Jurgen Klinsmann, and I talk about Nick Barmby, and I talk about Sol Campbell, Gary Mabbott to an extent, Stephen Carr, Ian Walker, and I look at that team and I think, wow, they had a pretty good team there. Do you know what I mean? There were times when I looked at Tottenham's team, I thought, wow, they got some good players, but they never ever done anything. They never moved forward. They've had Harry Kane, they've had Michael Carrick. You know what I mean? They've had great players who played for their team and never done anything. Give me a Romero captain, Belin decision. Belin, I don't know what Belin is, my friend. Forest and Leeds were too big to get relegated until it happened. Same will happen to Spurs. Yeah, Leeds were actually Champions League semi-finalists a couple of years before. They were massive, but obviously Nottingham Forest were in a decline. I remember when they got relegated in 98-99, and they were always in the decline. They haven't been good since the 80s, to be fair. You know, if we're being totally honest, probably 1992 they're probably decent, but during the 90s and the turn of this century, Nottingham Forest haven't been good, and they've always been relegated. But Leeds were champions in 1992. Leeds in 98, 99, 2000 were actually challenging for the league. They were actually in the Champions League. They were actually getting to semi-finals against AC Milan in the Champions League. Then they got relegated. Middlesbrough had Juninho, Emerson, Ravanelli, and they got relegated. And those who know who those players are, those are world-class players. Now, I remember when we wanted Juninho, I was a huge fan of Juninho. Right, Juninho. I was always on about Juninho. I felt that if Juninho went to Man United, it would have been a game changer. But Juninho got relegated with Middlesbrough. That's the see. You see, what it is, right? It's to do with the environment. It's to do with the environment around the club that you played for. You know, Leeds United had Alan Smith, who played for Man United. You know, Leeds United, he got relegated with Leeds. Alan Smith, right? And he ended up playing for Manchester United and winning titles. You know, there we are. Marcus, I agree with you. Patrick Udogie would be a top notch when he gets back. That's why I said we don't need necessarily demanding Udogie. I wouldn't spend that much money at the moment. If Diomande can go for about 60, I would take him, because I do believe that Diomande is an incredible player. I have been watching him quite intensively over the last few weeks, and I actually think he's a fantastic player. Just like I think Nathaniel Brown is a fantastic player as well at Frankfurt. I think they're both fantastic players, and I think both of them would be amazing signings. However, as we said there, Marcus, we do have to look at our players that we have as well, and we can't stifle the development of Udogie, because I feel like Udogie has gone on leaps and bounds, in my opinion. Absolutely. Big up Phil, the man. Good morning. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Morning, Sal. I really like Tonali, but this gambling habit worries me. He's done once. It can happen again. Phil, you never know, mate. What I would say about transfers in general is that there always is a little bit of a risk surrounding transfers. I like Tonali. I watched Tonali the other night against Northern Ireland. Fantastic goal. Man of the match, in my opinion, along with Politano, in my opinion. But I feel like he is a very good player. Do I feel like he's a 75 million player? No. I don't think he's a 75 million pound player, because where Newcastle are in the league, and there is obviously a big problem with Newcastle at the moment. I would love Tonali at Man United. I think Tonali would be a fantastic signing for Man United. But Tonali shouldn't be the only signing for Man United in that midfield position. He's obviously a very good player. Just watch him the other night. He was dominating that game. And I know that Northern Ireland have Galbraith and players of that, and no disrespect and stuff, but Galbraith was playing for Leyton Orient a year ago and stuff. He did play for Man United, by the way, in the youth team. But what I would say is that, yeah, I would like Tonali. I would like Tonali way better than I would want Baleba, mate. All day long. I think Tonali's a fantastic player, and I would love him at Man United, to be honest with you. I think he'd be brilliant signing for Man United. But there is a lot of options out there, and we have to be very clever with what we bring in. I would like to think, Phil, that Man United will do their groundwork, Man United will do their research, and you know what? I'm leaving the keys in their court, the ball in their court, should I say. I'm leaving the ball in their court and see how they conduct themselves in this transfer window and wheel and deal and stuff like that. Let's see. Thank you, Katie. Yes, Dan Ashwood. He was right, Dan Ashwood. He was, because Man United needed, big up, Katie, hope you're well. Man United needed, he knew what Dan Ashwood did. He foresaw that Man United needed a lot of work done, especially if you bring in a manager with a distinctive style of play. Now, I said it many, many times that Ruben Amorim was the right manager at the wrong time. He needed a lot of investment in that football team. And we weren't willing to do that. So why did we bring him in? You might as well got Sam Allardyce, for goodness sake. You know what I mean? It was just really, really incompetence from the board. And I don't like the mentality, right? One thing about it, I don't like the mentality where you're fired if you disagree with me, sort of thing. I think that's really, really petty and narcissistic. I think it's wrong. I think we should have disagreements. That's absolutely fine. I think football is about disagreements. As long as you go towards the right path and you want the right thing for the football club, You know, I wouldn't want my Man United to be 3-0 down at half time and sit in that dressing room and say, yeah, everything's fantastic. Way to go, guys. Let's do this, guys. You want arguments, you want disagreements, you want fights, right? You want that. Just as long as it's surrounding all in the common goal of getting what's best for Manchester United, right? That's what I want. And, you know, but however, they sacked him because they disagreed with what he had to say and what he wanted rather than hearing him out. And I think he's coming out of this smelling of roses at the moment. Marcus, these soap opera shenanigans from the board pisses me off. Me too, mate. Even if the player wants to come to United, this board would be discouraging our future. It's uncertain as long as... Marcus, you have to look at it like this as a human being. Like, you know, if you're looking at Man United from the outset and you're playing for Nottingham Forest or whoever you're playing for, Aston Villa, whoever you're playing for, and you're looking at the arguments at Man United and the toxicity, the disagreements going on, is that going to attract you to go to Man United? When then you look at the likes of Manchester City, Man City just won the League Cup. Manchester City have got Pep Guardiola. You know, whatever happens to Pep Guardiola, Manchester City will still be more of an attractive proposition, and Liverpool to that extent, because you don't really hear about, you know, things going on behind the scenes at Liverpool. Man United, you seem like Man United are Netflix of C. You know what I mean? Man United have always got a problem. There's always arguments. There's always disagreements at Man United. And like I said earlier, I don't mind arguments and disagreements as long as things are in the right direction. But it seems like, for example, Ashford, when I talk about Ashford, right? He got sacked for having a disagreement. That's not how you do things for me. I think you've got to come to a common goal. Like, we all want Man United to be successful. How do you think Man United becomes successful? How do you think Man United could win the league again? What about you? How do you think? I disagree with that, but why do you think that? And he can give the argument for that. That's how, you know, successful. I mean, look, guys, these guys are meant to be the billionaires here. They're meant to be the ones with the money. They're meant to be the ones with the ka-ching, you know what I mean? And they're the ones that are arguing and sacking each other. It's ridiculous. Something is burning in the kitchen. Definitely, Kaylee. Definitely at Man United, 100%. If I heard correctly, it would be seen Wilcox wants Carrick, where the board wants a... I am not 100% sure. I'm not going to come in at LT. I don't lie to my community. I'm not 100% sure that whether it's Wilcox or wants Carrick. However, what I would say, if I was a betting man, I would say that Wilcox wants Carrick, yeah, and the board wants someone else. That's what I'm feeling. Now, who do the board want? They want Nagelsmann, in my opinion. That's what I'm hearing. They want Nagelsmann. There is talk about Nagelsmann having talks with Man United before the World Cup, you know, and that's what I think. Luis Enrique, of course, we all want Luis Enrique. Luis Enrique is the superstar. He's the one that we all want, but I don't think Luis Enrique is going to come to Man United. You know, I just don't think we have the pull. In regards to the effort that we have to try and get him. I don't think Man United have that persuasion, the powers of persuasion. I don't think it's impossible to get a Luis Enrique. I will stand by that. I don't think it's impossible. I just think that our board are useless and they won't persuade him, you know. And for example, we got this board, we got a couple of these people into this football club for powers of persuasion. We spent a lot of money for powers of persuasion, but they couldn't persuade me to sign for Man United at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And that's it. I'll play for Man United for free. I'm joking. Absolutely. Kaylee, Tonali and Baleba would not be that bad if we can get a left back and a back. I don't rate Baleba. I think Baleba will represent an incredible risk, Kaylee. Maturity in football is very important when we're looking at players. Baleba's one of my favorite players last season, right? And I'm maturing. I'm saying, you know what? He hasn't played well this season, and we're not talking about 6 weeks. We're talking about 6 months, right? Hasn't played well. Did okay in the AFCON, but he just doesn't fill me with confidence. Now, guys, doesn't mean I shut the door on Carlos Baleba. I'm not saying that, but what I would say is that 70 million for Carlos Baleba, a player who hasn't been played well. There's players in the league right now playing for Brighton, playing for Brentford, playing for Everton, who've done better than Carlos Baleba. You know, Ghana has done better than Carlos Baleba this season. Ghana's in the England team. You know, Carlos Baleba wouldn't get anywhere near the England team. Do you know what I mean? And this is what we're talking about. And, you know, I just don't think Man United should be bringing in a player that is quite obviously inept in his mentality and professionalism. Because I'm looking at Anderson, I'm looking at Wharton, I'm looking at Stiller, I'm looking at all these players, Amadou and Nana, all were linked to big clubs around Europe. None of them are down-tooled. But having said all that, as I said at the beginning of the show, I know that Man United are going to sign Carlos Baleba. And if Man United sign Carlos Baleba, I'm going to be supporting him. Of course I am. And hope he becomes the world-class player that he is. I just don't want people next season, 2 months into the season, saying, bloody hell, that Carlos Baleba is useless, isn't it? We don't need another Ugarte, guys. We don't need another Ugarte. And the red flag should be flagging right now. We've wasted a lot of money over the years. For the price of Carlos Baleba, we could go out there and get Angelo Stiller, who is a better player, much better player, and going to be in the German squad. We could go out there and get a young lad called Ayab Boyodi. We could go out there and get Lamine Camara performing better than him. Agume performing better than him in La Liga. We can go out there and get that. We shouldn't be going after players because they are deemed easy and because, totally neglecting his performances. You cannot sign players based on a hunch that he's going to get good. Did Evan Ferguson become good after his first season? And we have to compare it to this, right? Evan Ferguson, when he was at Brighton and Hove Albion, they were confirming Evan Ferguson. They were comparing Evan Ferguson to Wayne Rooney in his first season. What happened in the second season? He down-tooled. He didn't play well. He went off to Roma and things like that. It's not well near the player he was, isn't it? It's the thing we have to look at. LT. It seems Wilcox wants Carrick and the board wants more experienced manager. If we can't get Enrique, then Nagelsmann, then they're for the taking because of FL leagues and wanting talks now later. I do think that Nagelsmann is the most realistic manager that Man United will be going for. Obviously, speaking to the people I know, Man United feel Nagelsmann is interested in the project. Obviously he's never managed in the Premier League, so probably it excites him to come to the Premier League. But after the World Cup, of course, at Germany. Luis Enrique is the quite obvious choice. Luis Enrique is the best manager right now in the world for me. I think he is. What he's done at PSG is underrated. He didn't go out there and buy Galacticos players. He brought through young players. He signed a few players from other French clubs, and he built PSG into European champions. You see, people forget that PSG had Neymar, had Mbappe, had Cavani, had Ibrahimovic. They never won the Champions League. You know what I mean? This is what we're talking about. Di Maria. They never won the Champions League. Luis Enrique come in there, Champions League, with a team that you look at on paper and think it's not even on the star-studded list as that team. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Good manager, man. I would love him at Man United. If I was a Tottenham fan, like Expressions, for instance, I'd be depressed all the time. I would sue whoever made me into a Tottenham fan. Now, guys, I'm going to give you a story about me. Right, my older brother is a Tottenham fan. He's been a Tottenham fan for 40 plus years, right? So he's been a Tottenham fan since the 80s, right? And he's had a lot of pain. I used to actually feel sorry for my brother. I did. I felt sorry for him. I did. When we used to watch Man United against Tottenham, I actually didn't celebrate when we would beat them because I'd be like, my brother's sad and and stuff like that. But he's always been a Tottenham fan. And guess what? He tried to persuade me to be a Tottenham fan. Now, thankfully, because my best friend was a Man United fan, he was from Manchester and stuff like that, and he made me a Man United fan, gave me these VHS tapes. And I used to watch them, and I watched all the history of Man United. I learned the history of Man United way back in the late 80s and things like that. And I learned about Man United. At that time, when my brother was trying to push me, I had two people, right? I had my dad's best friend who was a West Ham fan. He's a season ticket holder. He goes to every single game to this day. And my brother, who's a big Spurs fan, my older brother is a big Spurs fan. Both of them were trying to make me, one was saying, you be a West Ham fan, one was saying, you be a Tottenham fan. And I didn't say nothing because I didn't really watch football, right, at that time, right, until I started speaking to my friend, right? And I was very young. And I started speaking to my friend, and my best friend was a Man United fan, and he showed me these magazines, and he showed me about Brian Robson, and he showed me about Paul McGrath and Gordon Strachan and Alex Ferguson and Ron Atkinson and all these players, Paul McGrath. Guys, I said straight away, like I said many times, I've said it many, many times about being a Man United fan. You don't choose Man United. Man United choose you. And that's what happened to me. That's why I became a Man United fan, and I never looked back. I never looked back. I was just Man United. And when I said my brother, I'm a Man United fan, the disappointment in his face. And obviously, my dad's friend Sharp, who's a big West Ham fan, one of the biggest. was like, oh, they're from Manchester. They're from Manchester. Why are you supporting a team in Manchester? And like I said, Man United choose you. You bleed red. You're Manchester United. You're a Man United fan. You're Man United caliber. That's why Man United fans are elite. And that's what I would say about it. And, Man United is a magical football club. I didn't see anything magical about West Ham. I went to a West Ham game way back in about, I think it was about 1988, 87. And I didn't like it. They actually put me off football. You know what I mean? They actually put me off football. And thank God Man United gave me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation, not quite literally, but in regards to CPR, in regards to football and loving football, Kaylee, we need another window like last summer, at least 4 players and 2 squad players to compete again. We need nowhere near what we need. Kaylee, we had a 4 out of 10 window last summer. It was a 4 out of 10 window last summer. Are you crazy, Kaylee? You think we need a summer like last summer when we had a 4 out of 10 window? Didn't get no wing backs, didn't get no midfielders, didn't fix the biggest problems in the football team. Got a goalkeeper last minute, a young goalkeeper last minute. No. We need about 8 players. 4 of them need to be world class. Yeah, and we don't need 4 players. We're losing Sancho, we're losing Rasmus, we're losing Rashford, we're losing Maguire maybe potentially, we're losing Casemiro, we're going to lose Ugarte. 6 players. Sorry, Kaylee. No chance. We had a poor window last window. How's football people? Are people World Cup through fever? Big up, Derek. How's football people? Are people World Cup fever? Big up, Derek. How are you doing? Long time no see. I hope you're doing well. Good to see you. Don't quite know what you mean by that. Football fever. That's all I got. I'm sure you love your brother, so I'm just glad you didn't listen to him. It would have been a Spurs post instead of a Stretford Post. God blimey, can you imagine? Oh, goodness me. Chronicles of the Lane. There's a name for you. Have that one for free. Chronicles of the Lane. What will my channel be called? Hammer Post. Hammer Post, like West Ham United, the Hammer Post and things like that. My goodness me. God blimey. It makes me want to jump out this window right here. Why does it seem like Wilcott's decisions have red flags? Because I hear that he was advocating for Delap, who has dodged a bullet. Yeah, and we all foresaw that when we were linked to Delap, didn't we? Delap, who we dodged a bullet from, and he's the one who fell out with Amram, and it's true. Yeah, exactly that. Red flags are flying high, of course. I like the rumour that we are interested in Miles Lewis-Skelly, can play in many different positions. Just don't think Arsenal would sell it to us. Be a good signing, though. The one thing, Jay, what I would say about Miles Lewis-Skelly, I rate him very highly. I really do. The biggest concern for me, Jay, is that we're going to be giving Arsenal money. And that's the thing. Now, Arsenal don't play Lewis-Skelly consistently. They keep him on the bench, and they're happy with their team. Now, if we give Arsenal money, they might go out there and buy the problem in their team, a problem that they have in their team. Another striker, for example. That's my biggest worry. I love Lewis-Kelly. I think he's a brilliant player. He's only 19, isn't he? He's going to be a fantastic player, absolutely. But I think Man United should buy a player from Europe. And we should believe in Dorgu. Dorgu could play there. Dorgu, I think, is going to be better, honestly. Oh, God, blimey. No, don't do it, Roy. Don't do it. I'm talking about in terms of 4 squad players. 6 is nowhere near enough, in my opinion, considering we're losing about 8. I think that Man United need about 7, 8 players. We do need 4 top quality signings, yes, minimum. I agree we need squad players as well, but I think we need more. Now, when you're looking at Man United need about 2 midfielders minimum, need a striker, right, as a backup striker, need a left winger, some are saying, maybe a left back, right back, centre back, maybe just at least 1 centre back, and then that's 7 already. We're not even talking about, the squad there. We're talking about first team players. We're talking about 7 first team players here. Left back, right back, 2 centre midfielders, the backup strikers not, I agree. Centre back, at minimum 1 centre back, by the way. We've got Licha and we got De Ligt injured. Yeah, we need a lot more than 4, I think. But if Kaylee, let me just say this, having said that, if we sign 4 quality players, right? If we sign 4 world-class players, I'll be happy because I don't expect nothing from the board. They had a 4 out of 10 window. Speaking of 4, they had a 4 out of 10 window last summer. So I don't really expect anything major, anything amazing from this really incompetent board. There's a reason that we're protesting, and stuff like that. I'm sad that the protests have died down a little bit, if I'm being totally frank. Obviously, Man United fans are very easily persuaded, sadly. Me as a Man United fan my whole life, I would say that. We're very easily twanged. A few wins and we're forgetting about the ball. We forget about Ineos. We forget about Jim Ratcliffe. And this is disappointing for me. It's just really disappointing, We used to be a very, very intimidating fan base, Honestly, we used to be like, if you think about the Red Army and things like, guys, if you think about the past about Man United, I know a lot of the Man United ultras got arrested and things like that. Of course, I know that. But, we used to be a very, very intimidating proposition. And these days, we just sing songs. That's what we do. We want Glazers out. Say, we want Glazers out. Hit the hop, the hippity, hippity, hip the hop, the don't stop, the boogity, boogity, boogity. That's what we do, guys. Might as well, innit? When I look at Italy and I look at other countries and stuff like that, they're more intimidating than us. Sorry. Sadly, bloody hell. I would even say that I would say Ashburton Grove. What's it that? What is it? The Arsenal ultra is even more intimidating. You know what I mean? I'm happy with our goalkeeper. Opinions next season will sell Beyanda and Nanana, and we have Lamans and Vitek back from Bristol City, so we're in good shape. Yeah, we're in good shape in that position. But the problem is, Jay, Vitek, you heard it here first, wants first team football, Jay. And this is a problem. This is why Vitek went on loan. He wants first team football. He doesn't want to be an understudy. And we all know that Senny Lamans, for me, I'm being honest, guys, I'm not putting pressure. I've said it from the beginning. Before people even mentioned the name Senny from their mouth, I was talking about Senny Lamans, right? And then everyone follows suit. Followers, you know what I mean? I know herd and sheep and all that. What I would say is this. Vitek wants first team football. That's what it is. And that's the problem that we have. Vitek will be a phenomenal second choice goalkeeper. By the way, congratulations to Kovar, by the way, who shouldn't have been sold for Man United, who saved a penalty against Ireland and won them a penalty shootout and qualified for the World Cup, by the way. Absolutely. But Vitek is a very good player. He just wants first team football. I'm hearing that quite from some respectable people. He would be an amazing second choice goalkeeper. We are losing Bayern and Onana. So if Vitek does want to leave, then we're going to have to look at another goalkeeper as well, again, and that's going to take up more time. Maybe we could persuade Vitek, I don't know, but he does want first team football. Derek, I'm selfish and ask for help. Our menu so reasonable. Good luck, internationals. Big up, Derek. I don't know what you mean. They're very, very blasé, but I'm selfish. Why are you selfish? I don't get that. I don't know. Don't know what you mean. Good luck in Man United internationals. Yes, good luck to Man United in all the internationals. Just as long as those Man United players don't get injured, that's the main thing. I've got my fingers. I've got everything crossed at the moment that Man United players don't get injured because you know what? It's such an important part of the season at the moment. Really important part. And look, guys, we need to win. We need to get 10 points. Maybe less than that, obviously. If Man United go out there and win the next couple of games, I think we've solidified it. We should have beaten Bournemouth. We should have already solidified that position, of course. Jay, European football without Man United should be illegal. It's so boring. I agree, Jay. I'm not saying this because I'm a Man United fan. The Champions League without Man United, it takes away a huge chunk of what the Champions League is, in my opinion. Man United are the pioneers of English football in Europe. And I know there's haters of Man United. They will never admit it. It's like when they pick their best players of all time. They never want to pick Man United players. Paul Scholes is the best English midfielder of all time. All time. Cristiano Ronaldo is the best, most talented player I've ever seen in the Premier League. Ruud van Nistelrooy is the best striker in Premier League history, along with Andy Cole. Andy Cole didn't take penalties. Look at his record. These people, they don't want to mention that. Let me just tell you that. Let me just feed it into their head and drill it into their head. Let me try and get water into that stone. Because every single one wants to, the Kevin De Bruyne, Neymar, I'm sitting there like, even when I'm on other streams, I'm sitting there like, they don't want to mention Man United. It's not like we dominated football for 26 years. It's not like we dominated the Premier League and stuff like that. It really irritates me. But I just sit there and say, okay, yeah, he's a good player. Yeah, fair play, lad. Yeah, of course. Roy Keane's not the best player of all time, but best CDM of all time in the Premier League. Of course he isn't, even though he dominated Patrick Vieira time and time and time again. Yeah, they don't want to say that, do they? They don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about that. They want to be real in their footballing opinions, And guys, sorry about the little run, but it does annoy me. As much as I dislike it, I'll say broken clock is 2 seconds. I pray that, yeah, that's true. I pray that as of this summer, with the signings that are obvious, doesn't change how I feel about them. I just do the right thing for once. Look, all we're in it for, Marcus, is for Man United to be successful again. We're all in that same boat, ain't we? We're all in the same boat. Let's make Man United great again. No, let's make Man United great again. What is it? Let's make Man United MUGA. I don't think that spells anything. No. Kaylee, do you think there's any? I can't write a youth. I can't get a cap with it on it. Do you think there's any youth players who can make the step up next season? Yes, Kaylee. And this is something that we have to remember as well in regards to our squad. We can't stifle the talented players that are coming out of the youth system. Jim Thwaites, JJ Gabriel, generational. We got to play JJ Gabriel because other clubs are hovering around it. So he can go to anyone. He can walk into any. He can go for nothing. And that's a worry. And because JJ Gabriel, for me, is the next Lamine Yamal. Shea Lacey, of course, been injured, but Shea Lacey, I really rate him very highly. I think Kulungi, as a defender, will come good. Fredrickson, of course, already in the first team squad. They're good players. Not sure about Jack and Tyler Fletcher. Now, guys, I like Jack and Tyler Fletcher, but I think they're only in the Man United youth team because of their dad. And I'll be honest, I think this is the kind of mentality that we need to move away from. But JJ Gabriel, Shea Lacey, definitely 100%. Jim Thwaites, 100% players there. Hopefully, we're going to see more of Diego Leon coming later on. Of course, a very, very good player, but obviously not quite ready yet. Hopefully next season, with a year under his belt, he'll be coming into the team. So we never know. Do you know what I mean? We never know who's going to Nusa as well. There's a few players there who I really like. Not sure what's going on with Chido Obi Martin at the moment on loan because he's gone on loan to a shit club. You know what I mean? And, is it him on loan or Sekou Kone was on loan? I'm not sure, one of them. But when we loan players out, we need to loan players out to good football teams, that we actually keep an eye on, not second division of Swiss league teams, not even Basel, not even Young Boys Bern, Bloody the Sun and teams like that. For goodness sake, you might as well send them to the championship and stuff like that. When's my next watch along? I don't know. You know what it is, Marcus? I'm in Italy. So, for example, let me give you an example. They don't broadcast the England game here. They wouldn't broadcast the England game here. They would broadcast the Italy game, so it wouldn't broadcast the England game. Whatever's available, I would do. I would do the watch along. I would do anything like that at the moment. But I think just not many good games out there at the moment. I'm doing the next watch along at the moment, Marcus. What I'm doing is Bosnia against Italy. Bosnia Herzegovina. And Italy. On Tuesday, I believe it is, I'm doing that watch along. The World Cup qualifying final. So hopefully everyone could join me for that watch along. Of course, absolutely. LT, it's sad that these owners have destroyed the standards of this club because now we are accepting mediocrity with the club always lowering our expectations because we're becoming a little bit like what Arsenal were, LT, accepting of the top four position. Like I said many months ago, Man United are looking for the maximum for the minimum. That's what they're looking for at the moment, the maximum for the minimum. So they are happy just to qualify for the Champions League. There were also feelings about Manchester United, about the board being accepting of no Champions League because it equates to them actually having to spend money, but they want to put the money in their pocket. I don't understand that, but they want to put the money in their pocket and just get Europa League and things like that and keep milking Manchester United. I mean, these sinister sort of thoughts come in our head with our board, don't they? And it's a sad, but it is what it is. I mean, call it PTSD, whatever you want to call it. They've done this to us, by the way. They've done this to us. Guys, I want to thank everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate everyone. Please don't forget to smash a like on the video, guys. I've had nearly 100 into the house today. So, I should, in theory, have over 50 likes. Come on, guys. That's 50%. So, guys, please, smash a like on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. Put your notifications on. It's a great channel. We're growing day by day. Have a brilliant day, guys. Brilliant afternoon. Happy Saturday, everyone. I shall see you later on, guys. Keep your notifications on in case I go live elsewhere as well, guys. Take it easy, Paul. All the best, brother. And, guys, have a blessed day. Enjoy it. Peace.